This short video is going to show you how to create a new Salesforce custom object from scratch. I will cover off on the key processes. So firstly, you need to create the object itself. Secondly, add fields to that object. Thirdly, import some new records into that new object you've created. Fourth, create a tab so that the object then appears in your Salesforce user interface. And then make sure that tab is visible on an app. So firstly, we want to create a brand new Salesforce object. So in my case, I've got a spreadsheet that I want to replicate as a Salesforce object so I can use it in my Trailhead Playground org. So here we've got just a list of different computers. As you know, with a Salesforce object, the different columns typically represent a field in your Salesforce object. So in my object about computers, I'm going to have a field for the computer name, for the computer type, for the processor, for the RAM, for the graphics card, and for the price. And then each one of these rows will then become a Salesforce record that I import. So the first thing I need to do is create the object itself, which becomes the shell for this information, and then create those fields. To create the object, you need to open up Salesforce, enter the setup area by clicking on the gear icon, and then open the object manager. Inside Object Manager, there is a Create button on the far right-hand side, and you click on the drop-down box, and there are two different options. So Custom Object, which means from scratch, or you can import a spreadsheet, and it will automatically configure an object based on the columns that you have, and then import the records. So I could do that, given I've got my spreadsheet, but in this case, I want to create the object from scratch. So I'm going to say Custom Object. Now it's just about computers, so I'm just going to call it computer. Computers is the plural, and that's all. I'm going to skip all the descriptions and stuff because I'm trying to do this as quick as possible. If you want to skip ahead this video to any different stages that you're more interested in, feel free to do that. I'll try and add some timestamps in the description. So object is called computers. All the rest of the details can be default, and I'll press save. So now I've created my brand new Salesforce object. If I look in fields and relationships, there's currently 4 fields that are created by default. Every time you create a new Salesforce object, these are going to be there. So we've got a name field. So this is important. This field that they've created will automatically, well, not automatically, but it'll be this field here. So where I've given it the description, how I would look it up in a drop-down list or a lookup field, I'm going to sync this field with computer name that they put there. Then the rest of these are just metadata fields that Salesforce needs on every single object that they have. So I need to now create the extra fields based on these columns. So I need to create one for type, processor, RAM, graphics card, and price. In terms of the field type, for this one here, computer type, I'm going to make a pick list field with 2 options, desktop, laptop. Processor is just going to be a free text field. RAM is going to be a number field. Graphics card, again, will be just a plain text field. And then price will be a currency field. So I'm going to start creating those. First, I'll do type. New field here. I'm going to create a field called computer type. I want a pick list field. It's going to be called computer type. I'll create my own pick list, and one is desktop, one is laptop. And again, I'm going to skip all the descriptions and all the stuff you definitely should fill out if you're working in a production org. Next, and I'm going to go on all the basic defaults in terms of permissions and page layouts just to save time. And I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to go save and new, just so I enter straight back into that new field process, just to speed it up. So the next field I need is going to be processor, which will be a simple text field. So text field, next, called processor. Again, I'm going to leave it as a 255. Just all these blank fields will be a simple 255. Basic configuration. Processor, happy with that. Computer layout, that's all good. Now I'm going to go save and new again because I'm going to create another new field. So we're down on processor. Now we want a field called RAM in gigabytes, which is just going to be a simple number field. So we want a number field. Next. So it's RAM, gigabytes, that is done. 18, that's fine. RAM, gigabytes. Keep moving, don't need any decimal places. Happy with the field level security and page layouts. I'm going to go save and new again because I'm going to create another field. So we've done RAM, now we're going to have a graphics card field, which is going to just store text information again. So we'll go text, next. Graphics card, 255. Go with the defaults. Then I'll accept the defaults again. Happy with the layout. And now I've got one more field to create, I think. So save and new. Our final field is price. So that's going to be a currency field. So look for currency. It's going to be next. So this is computer price, 18 digits. Don't want any decimal places. Next. Now I don't need to create any new fields. So on this one, I'll just be saving and completing. And we'll see where our object is up to. So save, don't need any new fields now. So now we've got our built out object with all the columns on our spreadsheet have been converted to fields on our object. So name, that was the default one, but now we've got computer type, computer price, graphics card, processor type, and RAM. So that object is now fully created. We've got all the fields we need. The next step is to import data into that object so that we have some records associated with our new object. So to do that, we'll go to Home, and we need to use the data import wizard. So we could use it with any other tool like Data Loader or Workbench, but Data Import Wizard works pretty well when you're doing, small numbers of records for custom objects. So I'm going to click here to go Launch Wizard. And I've got a CSV export of this spreadsheet I showed you on this step. I'm going to import a CSV of this and then match up each column to the object name to get our data. So I don't want a standard object. I want a custom object. Custom object is called computer. And I'm going to add new records because I know there's no records yet. I don't need a match because there are no records to match to. Select a CSV file. All right, object data is here. There's my CSV file. I'm going to go next. Now, it's found some column headings mapped automatically to the field headings, but some of them I'll need to map specifically. So model, I'll see what the object, so it is name. So the model name is what we're going to sort of be the main reference field. So that is just simply computer name. Where is it? So computer name will be that. Now computer type, I made it a bit bigger. There's computer type. And now price, I think I called that computer price, so it didn't automatically map. There we go. So now we've got all of our fields on our Salesforce object have been matched up to the relevant columns on our spreadsheet. We can look at some of the sample data there and it's all looking pretty good. I'll now click next. So 6 fields are mapped. We can start that import. Go OK. Now I can see that 18 records are processed, none of them failed, so it's now completed job. So theoretically, we've got our object that exists. We created fields for all the data points we want to track, and we've now created records for that object. But we cannot yet go and view that object anywhere because we haven't created an object tab. So our next step is to create an object tab. To do that, click on tabs in the quick find box. So I'm going to search tabs or tab. Let that load. So tab, I'm going to click here on tabs under user interface. Now we need to create a new custom object tab for the object we just created. So custom object tab. The object is computer. There's only one custom object in this org, so it's easy to find. You can select the style for the tab. I'm going to go on desk. Doesn't matter which one. Happy with that. I'm not going to do a description because I'm in a hurry here. Go next. Happy for it to be allocated there. So permissions are good. Default on. It's not sensitive information. Go next. Now it says which apps do you want to add this tab to? And I'm just going to go all apps. So I'm happy with that. Save. So now we can see we've got a new tab called Computers and Desk. So if we go and look at our Sales app, it may appear, but we may need to then add it manually under the app settings. So firstly, we'll just check, go to Sales. I'm not expecting it to appear in our tabs at the top. Just double check before we do anything further. Oh, it actually has worked. So here we've got Computers. Sometimes you do need to add it manually. I'm not exactly sure what the variable is, but now we've got a tab for Computers. If I click on that, recently viewed would be none, but I can now look at all records and I can see a list. So this data here in terms of computer name, that was this column here. And I just want to configure this to get some better perspective. I want to select fields to display, choose some more, price, type, graphics card, processor, RAM, and ID. So I'll try and replicate what we had happening on our spreadsheet. All right, I think I'm going to save that. And I think we've now got a pretty similar replica. So we've got computer name, type, processor, RAM, graphics card, computer price, computer name, type, processor, RAM, graphics card price. So now we've got a complete replica of our Salesforce object based on that spreadsheet. And the benefit is now we've got it in Salesforce, we can do a lot more with it and use it in a much more powerful way. As one more thing we can do with a new object, I'm going to show you how to then create this object and use it as a lookup field on another object. So in this sample scenario, I'm going to make a lookup to computer name on the contact object, just assuming that for each contact, I want to know what computer they have got. So to do that, I'm going to open up the contact object settings. So I'm just going to go to contacts. With the contact menu there, I should be able to go set up and edit object. Once that loads, I'm going to create a new field, but the type of field is going to be a lookup. So that means it's looking up other Salesforce records. So now contact is open. I'm going to go fields and relationships. I'm going to go new field here. From the options, I'm going to select lookup relationship because it's going to be looking up other Salesforce objects. Go next. Now there's not many custom objects to choose from, but you can choose any other object you want. But in my case, I just want to do the computer object. So computer is next. Field name can be computer. Don't need to worry about that. Happy with the default settings there. I'm racing through this and I'm not putting enough data in as I should. I'm going to make it visible for everybody. Make it on all the contact object layout. Go next. Related label list. I'll say contact computer. Oh no, sorry, contacts, that makes sense. Contacts with computer. And then save. We've now created our lookup field. So if I go and look at the contact object, I should then be able to find the field for computer and then look up the new object we just created. So if I go back to the contacts, I'm going to do a hard refresh just to make sure I don't have an old version cached. Wait for that to load. Once I've got the contact list appearing, I'm going to open a specific contact record. Doesn't matter which one. We should be able to find our new field. So I'm going to open Arthur. So if I now look at the details tab to see all of Arthur's details, I've got a new field here for computer. So if I now go edit, I can search for computers. I forget some of the names. If I press the letter D, I just got to look at the model numbers so I know we're looking at PC. So if I start to say PC, I can search. Should be able to see all the different records. Okay, I'm going to select PC 500. So save. So now I can see this contact Arthur has got a computer which is a PC 500. If I want to know the details of that computer, I can just hover over it. I need to set up that view. But yeah, if I come here, and now I'm looking at the specific record detail of that computer, and I can see the type, the processor, the RAM, the graphics card, and the price of that computer. So that was a highly fictional scenario. It may not make a lot of sense from a business point of view or in the real world, but it just demonstrated how we can create an object, create the fields for that object, import records into that object, create a tab for that object, add the tab to an app, make sure it was on the navigation menu, and then we created a new lookup field on another object that then referenced our new object record. Hope you found that useful.